Today I want to show you how to work on an old Marvin Casemaster window. I'm going to show you how to unlock the window when it's stuck or broken in the locked position. So let's get to it. Since we got one that's stuck in the locked position and this thing's just flopping around and not doing anything, we're going to go ahead and remove the screen. I like to go ahead and sometimes push up on the screen, it'll help. Sometimes the paint likes to stick, and so sometimes if you're trying to get this like this, it doesn't come out too well. So by lifting that up out like that, we'll go ahead and set that to the side. Now that we got the screen removed, we'll go ahead and remove this handle. Now, if your window is painted, you're going to want to go ahead and take a utility knife and score these paint lines along all in here. Now let's go ahead and remove this bottom hardware cover. Sometimes if there's not enough gap here, just use a sharpened, stiffened putty knife. Sometimes you can get it in there, get that separated. If you can't, gently, you can pop it up here, but be mindful you may get some cracks here, especially if your window's an older window. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna remove this. And we're going to go ahead and remove, because we use this kerf and barb system, so it's friction fit. We need to make sure we remove these out of the way because we're going to move this hardware cover back and we don't want that in the way. Go ahead and take utility knife, we'll remove this top cover. Make sure you go along all these corners here. Cut all your paint. Makes it a lot easier for it to be removed. And we're going to go ahead and use our sharpened putty knife, and we're going to try to get it in this groove between the frame and this hardware cover. And just work on it, it'll come right out. And we need to make sure that we remove the connecting barb here as well. Sometimes you may need a pair of pliers to help assist this out, but if it breaks, it's okay because it doesn't need to be a continuous piece. If it's broken, you can just put multiple pieces together back on this cover and it'll stay in place. Now, since our window's stuck in the locked position and this just flops around and does nothing, so we're same thing, we're going to go ahead, take a utility knife and score these paint lines. And then we can take a putty knife and we can get it in here. If you can't get it squeezed in there, sometimes I've been able to get it behind here to help get it started. And then you can pull this back, and that's going to expose us to the locking mechanism inside here. And then we can take our screwdriver here in here and move it down to get it unlocked. This is our sequential lock, and more than likely this is broken or this is broken. I purposely disconnected this because I didn't want to break this particular lock. But you could just take a flat screwdriver or any kind of tool and you can move this down like that to get the window to unlock. These hardware covers are pretty robust, so even if you didn't want to open the window and remove it, you can just go ahead and take your lock off. And yes, there's only 3 screws. You can put 4 in if you want. Now that we have our lock removed, I want to show you the secondary sequential lock that's in here that kind of rare, but it will break. So now that we got this open, we can go ahead and see the whole mechanism. You can remove this cover if you like, just by removing the weather stripping behind it. Just make sure when you put the weather stripping back in that you do put some sealant here, and then this whole cover comes right off just like that. So in the off chance this is broken, obviously you can just remove these 3 screws. But I need to show you something here. When you replace this lock and you go to put this back together and you put this rod in there, this rod does not go in this hole or this hole. This rod actually floats in this slot here. So if you put it in here or here, your window's not going to lock or work. So just be mindful to put it back in here when you reassemble the window. So when ordering the parts for your Casemaster, you have to specify if it's a left or right. This part is actually the only handed part on this lock. These 3 components are interchangeable. So just make sure you specify the proper one. There's a groove and a slot that goes into like that. And then this backer plate goes on there. And then just make sure it... So when we reassemble this lock, that rod actually goes in that hole. So let's go ahead and install this new lock. Let's reattach the rod into that hole like that. Go ahead, and then we'll go ahead and screw it down. And yes, from the factory, these normally only come with 3 screws, which is fine. If they give you a 4th one, you can go ahead and put the 4th one in there. Go ahead and tighten it down. Go ahead and try the lock. Works great. I'm going to go ahead and try the windows to make sure everything is okay. Good, works great. Just like brand new. Let's go ahead and reinstall this side cover. And remember I was saying these are pretty durable. I mean, you could, it'll make some cracks when you do it, but they're pretty tough. So if you need to bend them a little bit, that's okay. So we'll go ahead and reinstall them in the same way we took them off. Let's not forget to put our weather stripping back in. Again, put some silicone on here so you have a continuous gasket and reinstall it. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall this top hardware cover. Also, if you haven't figured this out by now, if you ever have to replace the roto gear, you just remove this bottom cover and remove all the screws. And you can, there's a little arrow that's here. You can push this down to detach it, and then you can just replace the roto gear if need be. Also, if you ever have one of these where this arm keeps falling out, where you open the window, it just keeps doing this, just go ahead and just bend that back up. And then find this little arrow, and it'll go back into place. All right, we'll go ahead and reinstall our bottom cover. And we'll go ahead and install the roto gear cover and close the window. Make sure it's closed, locks great. Take the handle back off and line it back up just like that, and then we'll go ahead and tighten our screw. Well, there you have it, just like brand new. I really love these old Marvin Casemasters. And hopefully this video helped you out. And if it did, please hit the subscribe button at the bottom, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.